delighted to be here, honored to be asked to play this role, and I was told the role here was to speak for 5 minutes and to respond to the report on behalf of row crop agriculture. I abdicate that, and I will respond to the report as an individual row crop farmer from Alabama, and I don't pretend to speak for the many other row crop farmers from across the nation with whom I did not consult after reading this report. But I'm delighted to be here, and I will take less than 5 minutes, give you my initial thoughts, and look very forward to the question and answer session. I thought that this report was both thoughtful and really visionary and forward-looking, which is refreshing, because a lot of what I read today in terms of agricultural policy or debate is very current and informed with old information, informed with 20th century practices, and AG has eloquently said we need to move on from that, and in fact, on many of our farms, we are. So this report acknowledges that and acknowledges a future of continuing change, and so my response is very positive. This report acknowledges that we have got to work globally, nationally and globally, to relieve the tensions, or at least live through the tensions in a thoughtful way with land management in our increasingly globally crowded and needy planet. The report acknowledges, and I agree with this, the need for intensification of production on existing lands. In other words, it acknowledges that no more land is at this point being created. We hope we can restore productivity in areas that have been degraded around the world, but if the numbers of people grow and the acres of land in production don't, or shrink for some reason, urbanization or other forces, then that means more has to be reduced in the same area. So finding the ways to do that well and with minimal inputs and/or minimal environmental degradation of systems is the key. This report acknowledges private land ownership, which I think is really important. That's a couple of things there. It says that these systems that we changed are going to need to change or be changed by many individuals operating independently. And so information dissemination, which was acknowledged in the report, is going to be so important. We can't pull a trigger anywhere or a lever or one policy, because the actual work of this will be done by many individuals that will be needed to be trained, taught, informed, cajoled, excited about the new opportunities. This report acknowledges what I see, and this is very real, a tension between it acknowledges market forces, and it acknowledges the need for economic viability of people who have businesses related to land management and production of natural things from the land. There are tensions between the efficiencies that are gained in any business with specialization, and specialization often creates the desire for efficiency and monoculture, and that's something we've seen in agriculture. You can, based either on your soil, your land, or your knowledge, you can do certain things very well. And so that's what you do, because that's the best way for you to control the outcomes and know the best about something very limited. So specialization in monoculture versus the growing awareness inside and outside of agriculture that biological diversity is a more biologically diverse natural system is healthier and more sustainable. So this report acknowledges that tension and the need to work through that tension and create and use market forces to reward diversity and reward healthy, multiple organism cultures versus sterile monocultures in agriculture. And I think that we actually, the report envisions a world where we can do that and be rewarded for both production and practices. So where I see from where I'm sitting, and this goes to the sort of the current and the future, recent technical advances, technologies, and the report's relatively, I think it implies that technology will be part of some of these solutions. On our farm, it has been and I think it will continue to be. And I want to put that stake in the ground right now that on our farm, there have been some profound changes in how we farm since I started in 1990. They're technically driven based on improvements and new things that have been developed since that date. There are three big ones: precision farming and the opportunity to use computers and GIS systems to put things very specifically in places on our fields based on the needs that we identify there and nowhere else versus broadcast applications. That has reduced our fertilizer input in a significant way. It's more work, it's very technical, it's harder for the employees to understand, it's a new skill level required, but it's a big improvement. Another huge improvement on our farm is GMO seeds. It has allowed us to be much more environmentally friendly in the production of our crops. And our crops are corn, cotton, soybeans, and wheat primarily. And the GMO seeds are in varying availabilities across those crops. The two big areas where it has helped us be better stewards are, and there are different kinds of GMO for those of you that aren't familiar. There's one that's BT, and that's the one that retards the growth of the caterpillar stage of certain moths. Prior to that availability of GMO in those seeds, we were spraying with airplanes broad-spectrum pesticides that sterilized the field and killed everything. With the BT, we went from 4, 5, 6, 7 sprays a season in the summer, and this was on cotton, that took the highest number of sprays, to 0. Our beneficial insects numbers ballooned. It's a much more diverse and natural system as you walk through our fields with the use of that technology. So I'm an advocate, and from a conservation and environmental point of view, of GMO on a personal level. The other GMO trait that was, I think, I don't know how to equate them or give one more importance, and the other was the glyphosate tolerance. Before glyphosate tolerance, and that's the Roundup, that's the retail name that Monsanto uses for the glyphosate chemistry, we had to plow to control weeds, and we had to use soil-active herbicides. Our farm is, for the most part, highly erodible land. So every time we plowed and it rained, we had huge erosion problems and water quality issues. With the glyphosate tolerance, we're able to farm and not plow, and now the fields in the winter are fallow. There are all sorts of natural organisms and plants occurring, and we're using that buildup of organic matter. Our soils are actually much healthier over time. The earthworms are back, all the other things are there because we're able to engage in row crop agriculture without tillage. Big win. The third one, and this is just beginning, and AG just mentioned it at the end, were I not stuck tonight in DC, unfortunately, tomorrow I was planning on going and buying all new phones for our farm and the managers, because there's so many new apps and opportunities for even the guys that are running the tractors to do things technically and communicate with me on an hourly, or with the tractors. All these things, communication on farm and data management on farm is about to explode. And that technology is going to go forward. So, all right, that's our first response. Where I'm sitting, technology is going to be a key. Second response, because of the relative health of the farm economy right now, and I'm interested in the animal agriculture, it's not something I know, but the commodity crops have enjoyed a period of relatively good pricing. And some of these technologies that I'm talking about, combined with that, have attracted, and this is my observation going to meetings, in the last 5 years, it's been a bunch of older than I am men and me in the meeting, and now it's some of those older than I am men and me, and a room full of 20-something sons and daughters who are coming back to the farm. And it's an exciting thing and actually a strong economic sector for the first time in 30 years. And I foresee going forward that these new young people are going to bring an attitude and an awareness and a technical knowledge that the generations, me and above, never had and probably won't acquire in our lifetimes. And so it's exciting for me, and I think we need to take advantage of that. I agree with the report's emphasis on new research and the dissemination challenges. That's big. I'm curious and would love to hear the conversation about I think there's somewhere in the report that it says we should have new organizations that are regional or watershed to work on the priorities for research. I'm curious as to what's envisioned for the convening body there. Is that government? Is that land grants? How do you cross the territorial nature of some of our systems there? So that, I think, is going to have to be debated and discussed. I agree with the vision. I just don't know. Somebody's got to be some entity, some new entity or old, has to take that role on. And if you want, I've got a few war stories, real-life war stories about what hasn't worked, but I won't go into those now. Thank you.